Hi guys, Squishy Bee here. Today is June 11th, 2022. Welcome to this week's Bible reading. This week we're going to be doing Matthew chapter 17. So let's just start with a quick prayer. Father in heaven, thank you so much for bringing us together for this Bible reading. I pray that you bless your word and bless those that are listening. And please give us wisdom for what it is that we're hearing today. And help us to block out any stressful things that are going on around us and just focus on your word. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Okay, verse 1. And after 6 days Jesus taketh Peter, James, and John his brother, and bringeth them up into an high mountain apart, and was transfigured before them. And his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. And behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elias talking with him. Then answered Peter and said unto Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If thou wilt, let us make here 3 tabernacles, one for thee, and one for Moses, and one for Elias. When he yet spake, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them. And behold, a voice out of the cloud which said, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear ye him. And when the disciples heard it, they fell on their face, and were sore afraid. And Jesus came and touched them, and said, Arise, and be not afraid. And when they had lifted up their eyes, they saw no man, save Jesus only. And as they came down from the mountain, Jesus charged them, saying, Tell the vision to no man, until the Son of Man be risen again from the dead. And his disciples asked him, saying, Why then say the scribes that Elias must first come? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Elias truly shall first come and restore all things. But I say unto you that Elias is come already, and they knew him not, but have done unto him whatsoever they listed. Likewise shall also the Son of Man suffer of them. Then the disciples understood that he spake unto them of John the Baptist. And when they were come to the multitude, there came to him a certain man, kneeling down to him, and saying, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is a lunatic and sore vexed. For ofttimes he falleth into the fire, and oft into the water. And I brought him to thy disciples, and they could not cure him. Then Jesus answered and said, O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him hither to me. And Jesus rebuked the devil, and he departed out of him. And the child was cured from that very hour. Then came the disciples to Jesus apart, and said, Why could not we cast him out? And Jesus said unto them, Because of your unbelief. For verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain, Remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. Howbeit, this kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. And while they abode in Galilee, Jesus said unto them, The Son of Man shall be betrayed into the hands of men, and they shall kill him. And the 3rd day he shall be raised again. And they were exceeding sorry. And when they were come to Capernaum, they that received tribute money came to Peter and said, Doth not your master pay tribute? He saith, Yes. And when he was come into the house, Jesus prevented him, saying, What thinkest thou, Simon? Of whom do the kings of the earth take custom or tribute? Of their own children, or of strangers? Peter saith unto him, Of strangers. Jesus saith unto him, Then are the children free. Notwithstanding, lest we should offend them, go thou to the sea, and cast an hook, and take up the fish that first cometh up. And when thou hast opened his mouth, thou shalt find a piece of money. That take, and give unto them for me and thee. And that's it. That's all of chapter 17. So good job. We got another chapter done. God willing, we'll get through this this book, but maybe God will rapture us out of here before we get anywhere near done just this one book. It's looking kind of crazy out there, so I would not be surprised. So I wanted to give you this week's verse of the week, which I picked verse 20, which says, "And Jesus said unto them, Because of your unbelief, for verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain, Remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you." I thought that this was important because it kind of shows us that even the apostles who were walking around with Jesus and watching with their own eyes the miracles that Jesus was doing before them, even they had a lack of faith, as you can see from this example. So even though it's not good to not have faith, obviously, just keep this in mind when you're beating yourself up over slipping and not having faith over something. But also use it as a way to remember, hey, it's important to have faith. And that Jesus is telling us that if you have faith, you can do anything. Nothing's impossible. So, and I do believe that because I have actually witnessed miracles in my own life because of faith. And there's been other times when I didn't have faith. And did Jesus come down hard on me and be like, well, you didn't have faith, so I'm out of here? No. He still was merciful and graceful to me, as always, as he is with all of us. And he's long-suffering and patient, and he will stick around and tolerate our weaknesses of the flesh, which we all have. So just keep that in mind, that if you focus on your faith, that you can overcome anything with Jesus. And I'll just give you an example of testimony for those who haven't already heard this. For just one example, okay? My father had been in a terrible car accident. Someone was texting while they were driving and came into his lane of traffic as he was driving and hit him head on. And, smashed his legs all up and gave him a head injury. And he had a stroke, like massive strokes, which he really shouldn't have survived that to begin with. That was a miracle in of itself. And because he had these strokes, he was going to doctors, which he was not one that was big on going to doctors, okay? He's a really proud man that feels like he has to always show his strength and can't show weakness. That's just kind of, and I think that's kind of where I have gotten that myself. It's always been from my dad. I think I follow in his footsteps a bit. And so it was really hard for me to ever convince him to go to the doctor for things. And so he was getting older in the years, and when he was going through all of the workup and stuff with appointments for these strokes, because he had no choice, I witnessed him have a stroke, and I called 911 myself and had an ambulance take him to the hospital. And so when he was going through all of this stuff with the stroke, because of that, they found colon cancer. Which they wouldn't have found otherwise, because I know him, and I know he would not have gone to the doctors for this. And so because of that, they were able to catch it early enough where they were able to, he had to go through a terrible surgery, and they had to remove like a long bit of intestine. But he didn't have to go through chemotherapy or anything. They just removed it. And it's not come back since, and that was quite some time ago. And then, so when he was in this car accident, he was on ongoing blood thinners, because once you have a stroke, you have to be on blood thinners generally to keep from having another one. And so because he was on these blood thinners, it caused, when he had bumped his head, he had started some bleeding in his brain, and he went to one of these terrible hospitals here in New York, of course. They're all horrible here. Medical care is a joke here. And then, they were like, oh, there's nothing wrong. When he went in there, like, his hands were bleeding, and he had been cut on the glass in the car and everything. They did nothing for it. They did nothing for his legs. It was horrible, and he was a mess because of the blood thinners. Everything was like bleeding more than normal, and like his legs were just filled with huge balloons of blood because of he was so easy to trigger bleeding. And so he went home, and they did nothing for him, and I kept trying to get him to go back and see someone else for a second opinion and everything, and I couldn't get him to go. And so he ended up where he fell in the shower after that because he had this bleeding in his brain. He was losing his balance, and he bumped his head again. And that time he got very sick because that triggered a huge chain reaction of bleeding. He ended up in the hospital, and the doctors were trying to convince him to have brain surgery, and he was terrified of brain surgery. He thought if he had this, they would never let him go. He'd be stuck in the hospital forever in like a nursing home or whatever. He was being very stubborn about it. And none of my family could convince him to have brain surgery. And so my sister called me in panic and was like, you got to get here. And I lived a ways away. You got to get here. You're the only one that can convince him to have surgery. And the doctors are giving him only a few minutes, and then they're going to give him an hour or something. And if they didn't, if he wouldn't sign these papers, they were going to just let him die. And so this paper saying he could have surgery, and he wouldn't do it. So of course I had to get, my husband to take me to the hospital. I can't drive because of seizures. And so we were on our way, and don't we hit this weird thing in the road that popped one of our tires. So we're pulled over on the side of the road. I'm like, oh no, what are we going to do? And at that time, I really didn't know very many people other than my family, and they were all there. So I had to resort and ask a neighbor that I knew somewhat, but I just didn't. I'm sorry, I'm just waiting to see if that's thunder. I'm sorry. Just like waiting to see if there was a storm, if I needed to come back and turn my stuff off and come back later. But I don't know. I think that might be just a jet going. There's been a lot of jets going over lately because there was an air show recently. I think they're still kind of going back home. So anyway, the neighbor that I had asked was willing to take me, and so, mind you, this is a long way. They had to take me, and so I get there, and by the time I get there, there's like 10 minutes before he had to sign this paperwork, and he is so barely coherent at this point because the blood is just filling his brain, and he's so tired, and I had to explain to him, that it's not that bad because I had had brain surgery on myself, and my sister thought maybe because of that I could convince him. And even though I had tried to explain that way, it wasn't working, and I prayed with him. And when I prayed with him, which nobody else would do, my family is not the praying type, especially in the open, that part of my family. And so let me just shut my door because this washing machine is so loud. Good grief. Why this thing is so loud. So I prayed with him, and he finally agreed to it. And the doctor came in like 2 seconds after I finished this prayer, and he agreed and was like, okay, what's your decision? And he said he would do it. And so he signed the paper, and he had this surgery. And then after his surgery, he had a hard time. It sucks. And it sucks to have big brain surgery like he did. Because he had a lot of complications afterwards with swallowing and stuff. But I think a lot of it, too, was the damage that was done to his brain. And the surgeon took me aside and said, I've got to tell you, I don't understand how this man survived this. Because when I've been a brain surgeon for a long time, and I've done a lot of brain surgeries. I've never in my life seen the extent of bleeding on the brain that this man had and survived the surgery, let alone, survive afterwards and wake up and have all of his faculties, And so since then he has been fine. He's normal. He walks and talks, and he's a little bit weak on the one side, and he has some trouble with swallowing, like me, as you can tell. The more I talk, the more problems I have with my throat, because my strokes. But still, he's still, considering, is doing really, really well. And not only that, while we were there, because I was there every day in that waiting room and checking on him and being with him. And while we were there, we got to know other families that were in that waiting room. That had, the whole place was like a circle of ICU of patients that all had brain surgery. And so this other family that we really got to know well, this Ukrainian family, they had, their mom was there had brain surgery as well. And we had explained to them how when we had prayed for my dad, I explained to them, gave my testimony basically on what had happened there, and that he had made it through because of prayer. And they were like, we love Jesus. We'll pray with you. And so we offered to pray for their mom. And we did. And then by the time we were done, they were singing Christian hymns. And because before they were kind of all bickering amongst each other with family that had come in, because they said that their mom was not supposed to make it overnight. They didn't. The doctors didn't expect their mom to survive that 24 hours. And I don't know what they were bickering about, because they were doing so in their language, and we couldn't understand them. But my husband literally interrupted their argument and offered to pray for them, and that's how we got the opening to. Because he just sensed that, okay, things were not going well for this family. And he was like, interrupted in English and was like, I'm really sorry to interrupt your scuffle here, but, I'd really like to pray for your family, because I know that you're going through a really hard time. And this is, we are here because of, my dad, and explained the whole thing. So by the time they were done, they were all holding hands and singing Christian hymns in their language. It was just the most amazing thing. And after we had prayed, by the next day, when they thought she was supposed to die, she had made such an improvement that they were releasing her, and that she was like miraculously well. So I know that God does not choose to heal every single person, because there are reasons that only He knows, that sometimes people can be a very good, devout Christian and have health problems and not survive them. And there are reasons for that. We don't know. We'll know when we get to heaven. Maybe there are things that He needs us there for all we know. Or something is going to change and cause a chain reaction in people that are left behind here after we go. That's why I was never really upset at the idea that, I was not supposed to survive this past year. I was struggling with feeling like crap, because I was dying of kidney failure, but I was looking forward to going to heaven. Let's just say that. But I also was sorrowful for those that I would be leaving behind, my children and my elderly parents and things like that. But anyways, God chose to keep me here longer. And so, hey, you want me here? I'll occupy the time until the day that our Lord comes to get us. But I'm not going to argue either way. But I'm just saying that sometimes he does choose to still do miracles today, and for reasons that sometimes we'll know. Like, I believe that these miracles were done because then I would go on and tell these miracles. He knows the future and knows that I would get on here on my channel eventually and tell people about this. And hopefully someone will believe because of this testimony. And also that Ukrainian family, I'm sure, went on to tell people in their country, in this country, everywhere they went. Oh no, that's thunder. It's definitely storming. Sorry, we've been getting crazy storms lately. I'm going to do another whole video on the weather situation going on around the world. So anyway, I just wanted to share that because it's important that we know that if you have faith and it is for your good and God's glory, there's often a good chance that the answer will be yes to your prayers. One of the things that I do frequently, and I hope this will help someone out there, is when I pray, I often will pray that the person I'm praying for, that whatever it is that I'm asking, whether it be healing or whether it be a job or financial stability, whatever it is, I tend to pray that and this person will associate this blessing with God, and that then it will go on to affect. That is just the weirdest. I'm sorry, this is just the creepiest, weirdest thunder right now. It just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. That's why I was questioning if that's what it was, but it's definitely some sort of weird thunder out there. So anyway, that's what I do. And frequently when I do that, if God knows, I think that person will believe, hey, this happened because this person prayed for me, or this prayer group prayed for me, and then they go on and it increases their faith, and often they will then tell other people, and so that it then causes a chain reaction of then those people will have faith. Sometimes it increases people's faith. They're already Christians. Sometimes it gets people saved. Sometimes just something like that will get people saved. So I think it's really important that we think about stuff like that, because I believe that is frequently a reason why God will answer a prayer. Because if somebody is going to get a blessing and God knows that they're going to do absolutely nothing for it, nothing with it, it's not going to help anything in their long-term life and story, maybe the answer will be no. Maybe it'll be wait until later, because maybe at this moment that a miracle would be wasted, but then, sometime down the road when a lot of other things are going on at the same time, and this one thing would be the last straw that would help that push them over the edge to where they would then believe. That might be it. Sometimes it's just a timing thing. So just trust the Lord. That's all. It's all can be summed up in that. Trust the Lord. He knows what He's doing. He knows more than us. He can see the future. So He's going to know what is best. Sometimes we ask for things and it's not really best for us. It may seem like it would be, and you might be thinking, I can't imagine why the answer would be no to this. But sometimes there's other things that can happen that you will look back later and be like, oh, if he had said yes to this would have happened. And it might have been something catastrophic. So I just have learned over the years that God knows what He's doing. So anyway, so I know that got a little bit long and turned into a big, long, unexpected testimony. which I wasn't expecting, but hopefully somebody out there will hear this and it will make a difference, or perhaps share this with others and maybe someone else will hear this testimony and will help them believe, somebody that you're having trouble getting saved. So this thunder is still going. It's just going and going. I don't know if you can hear this. Let me go closer to the window, see if you can hear this at all. Can you hear that? It's not taking a break. It's just continuous rolling thunder that just... That is so creepy. What is this weird thunder? It's not stopped. Since I first questioned if it was thunder. It's just still going. Can you hear it? Weird. Oh, well, anyway. I just love being home alone when it's thundering. I hate storms. I hate them. I think probably because of my reoccurring tornado dreams. So then I look at storms with constant suspicion. So anyway, I hope everybody is doing well and that you're all healthy and hanging in there. I know things are a little bit crazy out there, but we just have to encourage one another and hang in there, because that finish line is getting closer and closer. We just got to kind of stretch our neck out and get across that finish line, because any day, guys, maybe this storm is Jesus heading in. Maybe that's why it's weird. That would be great if it's followed by a trumpet sound. I'm going to, for one, be listening for it anytime. With all the stuff that's going on out there, I know there are people that don't believe in the rapture, or don't believe that there's a pre-tribulation rapture. I had somebody mention that the other day. Hey, everybody can just believe what they want. We don't always have to agree on little things like that. I mean, in my opinion, you may not believe in the pre-tribulation rapture, but guess what? You'll believe it when you're getting sucked up into the sky. You'll believe real quick. But as long as you believe in the appropriate doctrine of salvation, that's what's important to me. I don't think that it should be a reason for people arguing or being vicious with each other, because that's the thing that bothers me, is when I see people actually bickering, like fighting or saying things in a kind of a rude way, which I do often see. And a lot of times, I don't know what it is, it's often the people that are saying that there's no rapture that get really angry, like really angry about it. Like, I don't understand why that would make someone angry. If we're wrong, right, about the rapture, then hey, we're going through the tribulation with you then, if we're wrong. It's not like we're sending people to hell by, understanding the Bible in a different way than you. The Bible is very complex, and we're only people. Sometimes we get things wrong, but I just don't think we are on this one, because there's just way too many things that point to the fact that the tribulation is for the Jews. But then you're getting a lot of people out there that think that they're replacing the Jews, and that's, I think, part of usually the people that believe in mid-trib or no rapture or whatever, are people that believe a lot of other really false, damnable heresies, and that's where it gets a little bit concerning. But for people who don't, and they are true believers, and they're just, maybe they're baby Christians and they just haven't really studied well enough, or they've been following someone else that's confusing them. So, so maybe they're just something like that. So I would just kind of take it with a grain of salt, and it's like, okay, you do you, guy. You just be you, and I'll be me, and we'll see each other on the other side, right? Or in the air. Or if we're wrong, hey, then we'll all find out soon. But I don't think so. I think we're out of here very, very soon. And I could do a video all about why I believe in the pre-trib rapture. There's so much scripture on that. But there are so many other really good pastors who have done that I'd probably be better off just directing you to them. One really good documentary that I believe would be a good one to watch for anyone who questions that is Before the Wrath. If you have any way to get a hold of that documentary, I think it was on Amazon Prime. It was free for a while there, but now I think you have to rent it. But it's worth it if you can do that, because it shows how the Jewish wedding is a type or a picture of the pre-tribulation rapture. And it's really hard to question that after seeing all of the evidence of that. That's just amazing to me. So check that out if you have a chance. I'm going to go unplug all my stuff so I don't get struck by lightning here, because we're out in the kind of the middle of nowhere, and we get really, really wicked storms here. And this is really surprising. I wasn't even supposed to storm today, so I don't know what this is. But anyway, I love you. God bless you, and I'll be seeing you. Bye-bye.